Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Scrap Your Heart Out YouTube hop. Thank you, Tiffany, for organizing this event and inviting me. I am so excited to be a part of it. So, May 2nd, that's tomorrow, is National Scrapbooking Day, and Tiffany has organized this 2 day event to show everybody the different ways of documenting memories. So today's hop is going to be a pre-recorded traditional YouTube hop, and all the timings and links and details of various artists who are a part of it are in the description box below. Tomorrow is going to be a live event, and the live streams run almost the entire day. So all the details of that are on the Facebook event page, and that's in the description box below as well. So do check out, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow as I create live, as well as hopping with so many artists to get inspired, new ideas, and just come along and chat with us. So today in this video, I've decided to create a travel notebook layout to show you how I'd like to document memories in such a format. Now, there are several ways of documenting. I often use traditional 12 by 12 scrapbooking layouts or make paper albums or maybe something 3D, which is like a shadow box. So I'll show you a couple of these projects tomorrow in my live stream. And today I'm going to take you through the process of creating a layout in my travel notebook. Now, travel notebooks are fun, especially to do, say, daily documentation, weekly documentation, or if you've been on a vacation. So, here's one such layout spread that I had created earlier in my notebook. So, why I like this particular format sometimes is because it helps us make use of all these scrap pieces of paper and elements that usually end up lying around after you've created, say, an album or a mixed media layout or just multiple projects, leaving behind these little scrap pieces. So, those can be incorporated in this sort of a format to create a perfect layout to document memories. Of course, it's also great to use tiny pictures. These are tiny square photos. They're roughly about 2 into 2 inches. So today I have removed a few pieces of papers from my stash, which come from this Kaisercraft Bombay Sunset collection, and I've also stored their the bottom labels of each page because they have some prints and designs, and I think that it would be perfect for me to use today in my layout. Just to quickly show you all, these are the scrap pieces that I have. Of course, I'm not going to be using all of them. However, like I was saying, that this is a perfect time to incorporate all these layers on my page today. Also, this particular collection came with a sticker sheet, some chipboard elements to go along with it, as well as coordinated die cuts, which Kaisercraft calls collectibles. So I think I have perfect elements for me to create my layout today. So I'll talk a little about my personal story of why I'm documenting this memory as I create the layout. So my first step is to just see how I'd like to layer everything, and if I want to include some sprays, colors, stenciling or not, or just go about this traditional scrapbooking idea that I have in mind. So I really want to use this phrase here, you brighten my days, and that's the reason why I'm looking at creating a composition with layers like this. So I think I quite like that, and I'll start cutting it to size and gluing it down onto my base. I don't want to leave any white border here, and so I'm just going to cut end to end so that I can glue it down onto my page exactly. So this particular notebook, the pages are about 4.5 inches by 8.5 inches. That's the rough measurement. And what I'm going to do is just turn this around, get my pencil out, place my paper roughly. I'm not very particular about having it measured completely. And I'll make a marking here so that I can just trim along the mark line. And I can just directly use my craft knife and chop this piece. So that's what I have so far. And what I can do is use this thick sticker to cover this part up and then see if I have any remaining edges and what I want to do there. So first I'm just going to glue this down onto my page, and the easiest way of doing this is to use some double-sided tape and add it on the page here. So I'll directly just add a few pieces of the tape on this page while I just share my little story of these photos. So that's my brother. That's me, that's my brother. And since about 8 months, we have this cute little minion, an addition into our family. So her mother was a helper with chores at home a couple of years ago, and she got married and moved out. She herself is an orphan, and so her relatives just wanted to, get her married so that their responsibility is over. And without realizing what she's getting into, she agreed and went ahead. So, almost after 3 years, she's come back with a baby, and she turned 2 days ago. So, she came with her because her husband and in laws were very abusive, and she had a really tough time. And after the kid's birth, she could take no more, and one fine day decided to walk out of her house. So she's come back to us, and her legal proceedings are in place. But my parents decided to foster this particular child. So her mother also lives with us. So at the moment, we have her and her mother living in with us. And so my brother and I decided to call her our mini sister. So that's the little story about her. And so now we just, have a minion as a sister. And we really monkey around and have fun and just do really silly things. And having a child, that too as a sister, is quite fun, I must say. So these photos show that how love is unconditional, and you necessarily don't have to have a blood relationship with people to just bring about smiles. So that's the reason why I would really love to document this in my notebook, because this for me is truly a special memory. So now, with my double sided tape in place, I'll begin adding these layers. I haven't yet distressed them, but I think I'll just do it at the end once and for all. So now, with this particular tape, I'd like to layer it a little bit on top of this. I now know I need another piece there. So before I glue this sticker down, I'd like to add another piece onto my edge here, maybe this one. And glue my sticker overlapping both these pieces. So with that, the layers on this page are ready. But now I need to work on how I'd like to layer my photos, and then according to that decide what I do on this adjacent page. I also want to somehow use this colorful piece of paper. Maybe I can trim it down to have a nice little border and have these photos one below the other in line. That would really do the trick. I'm just going to adhere some of this tape onto my photo so it's easy for me to stick it down onto that paper before I go ahead and trim it. And I'm also just going to distress the edges of my photo quickly using black archival ink so that I don't have a rough edge to them. Now I can just trim this panel, keeping an equal border on all four sides, giving me a nice frame for my two pictures. And the same way, I'll just distress the edges of this panel so that when I add it onto my page, it pops up as a different layer. And that would look really good there. I'm quite happy with the way this looks so far. And I'm just not happy with this edge here, this line. And I'm contemplating if I'd like to just go in with another piece of sticker there. So maybe I can pull out this other sticker and just lay it over. That's it. So that gives it another layer of interest, and the panel looks pretty good so far. Now I could also make this an equally busy page, adding the similar layers, but I'm not too sure what that would do because there would be no white spaces, and I think that will just make this double page look very, very busy. So let's just play around. I could play around with pieces of paper and see if I'd like to layer it up, or if I'd just like to maybe use a few elements to create a focal and just add a little splatter there and write document. So that also is another good way of going about this. And I can just do a mini little layering to complement and leave a little white space here. I think I'm quite liking that, the idea of doing that. So just letting a few lines peek through different pattern paper pieces. So in the same way, what I'm going to do is, since I like the way I've arranged them, I'll quickly make my pencil marks so that I know how much of it I need to trim down. So that's a look at these three layers. And since I'm going to be layering these one on top of the other, it's important that I finish distressing them right away if I'd like them to pop up distinctly. So at this stage, you decide if you'd like to do that. For me personally, this works where I don't distress it and I don't want to make it pop up, but I just like to have these different layers. So I'm going to glue them down without doing the distressing. So let's now add tape on the backs of each of these pieces. And now I'll begin gluing down these pieces of paper to finish my layering on the other page. On this particular journal, I avoid using too much of the liquid glue because the pages are quite thin, and since it's just simple layering, this double-sided tape is quite effective. Now it's all about just adding a little elements to complete it. So first I'm going to back my photo piece with some tape to glue it down. You could use foam tape or chipboard if you want some dimension for it to pop up. However, I really like it to be a little flat because I'm just going to add in some elements and complete it, and I don't want it to make my page really bulky. In this particular book, I tend to avoid elements with a lot of depth because then the book becomes bulky and it's difficult to work um, in the pages that remain. So I'm also using, like I showed you earlier, I have some die cut elements here, chipboard elements, and so this particular piece, awesome, can go down here like a paper clip. And before I actually glue down the photo, it's important if I'm adding any elements underneath that I adhere those first. And now on this side, roughly I'm going to see how I'd like to place my elements first, because I'd like to create my little layering on this corner. So I can play around, decide that before I actually glue down, so I then know if I want to add anything else. So that looks good. And I want a little splatter. So I'm going to pick out my Lindy's, a magenta, an orange and a green, just for some splashes here. And now I'll just glue everything down. And I'm just going to distress these two pieces here slightly with the black ink. And since my ink directly doesn't go in, so I'm just going to use my black Sharpie marker to go in at these edges and distress it with black. So that also does the trick. Now I'd like to color this element and bring in that little green on top. So I'm going to use this Finnabair wax mint sparkle to quickly add that green color onto the chipboard, and it also adds some shine which really goes well with the colors on my page. And now To complete it, just a last final touch, I'm going to use these Prima brads that I had in stash, a few different colors that match my page. So with that done, my layout is complete, and I just want to put in the month and the date for me to sort of add that memory, and maybe just a line, something that I'd like to write. So I'll quickly just do that here, just in one line. And not always do I really write a lot, because I have these elements here that capture the essence. But sometimes if it's a memory that I want to write, because here it's just that we're having fun. So sometimes if there's a lot more, then I do leave some space for me to write about that. But for this is about it. And here's a closer look at this particular layout. I really hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial with documenting memories in a traveler's notebook style. Do hop along with us and enter to win some fantastic prizes. Of course, most of us are going to be shipping them once things settle down, but do hop along, like our videos, share our videos, subscribe to our channels if you feel like you were inspired by our style, and do check out the other videos on our channel. So, see you all tomorrow, and until the next time, take care and bye bye.